I'm a YouTuber, and recently I started wondering if YouTube is actually making my life worse. Not because of the platform itself, but simply how much time I was spending consuming content. In the car, waiting in line, at lunch, on walks. And the thing is, most of it was about personal development. It was about improving my life in some way. But I just started to feel a bit off. To give you a bit of context, I'd just come off a 10-day meditation retreat with no technology whatsoever. And then I was back at work, and I'm a mobile podiatrist, so I drive around a lot. And I like to listen to YouTube videos and podcasts in between my stops. And I was finding more and more that I'd arrive at someone's house and I would sit in the car for 5 to 10 minutes just scrolling through Instagram just to avoid going in. It was pure procrastination, and it was quite a compulsion as well. And I started to feel really heavy even, and irritated. And even though I was clearing my energy field and cutting cords, I still felt heavy. And if you're not aware of energy hygiene and cutting cords, there's a couple of great videos that I'll leave in the description. One from Dr. Jenna from Heart-Based Medicine, as well as Seg from The Common Mystic. And then I even found myself scrolling at night before bed, instead of reading a book or just going to sleep. I started to feel shame because I'd just come off a meditation retreat. And one of the commitments that I've just made to myself was to be more present in each and every moment. Because if we're not present, we're on autopilot, so we're not in control of ourselves whatsoever. So it's fair to say I was not being successful at my goal. So I decided, stuff this, I'm doing an experiment, a social media detox experiment. The rules: 7 days, no Facebook, no Instagram, no YouTube Studio. And if you're a YouTuber, you'll understand the significance of that one. Also, I had to remove all of the apps from my phone. This experiment was hugely beneficial, and not just for the obvious reasons, and I'll explain why. I fully expected this to be difficult, but I did not expect the amount of personal insights and discoveries that I had. Hi, I'm Maggie. Welcome to the experiment series where I attempt to close the gap between what I know and how I actually live. This part of the video is in partnership with Skillshare. One of the reasons why I felt addicted to YouTube is because I actually love learning. But through this week of my social media detox, I began to see that consuming self-improvement content can feel like you're learning and growing, but it's actually just a form of entertainment. You can watch something and feel inspired for a moment, but if you don't act on it, it doesn't actually translate into real change. And this is one of the really great things about Skillshare. It's very intentional, it's very structured. You're not just jumping from video to video, you're taking a class and consuming it properly. Everything flows on from each other. During this week, I took a class on mindfulness journaling by Vicky, the Feel Good Manager. And what I really liked about it was how it encouraged me to review my values, to identify them and clarify them and distill them down to actually live in alignment with them. And I also explored some movement-based classes like Tai Chi and Qigong, which helped with a presence experiment that I'm currently doing. So stay tuned for that one. Skillshare feels very different to how I normally consume content because I was actively involved in it and not just passively watching it. Skillshare has creative classes taught by world-class creatives, and it's a great place to learn a new skill or pick up a new hobby. If you're looking to reconnect with your creativity and maybe avoid that brain rot feeling, Skillshare is where people come to learn from other people. The first 500 people to use the link in my description or use the QR code on the screen will receive a 1-month free trial on Skillshare. So day one, I just had lunch in a cafe and I was working on a YouTube script. I didn't feel the pull of the phone. I felt quite focused, lighter. I think this is really going to be a really great move. Over the next few days, I started noticing something. I still had the compulsion and the habit to reach for my phone, but because the apps weren't there, I started compulsively checking other things. I have 3 active email accounts and my bank account, and I kept checking them several times a day, 10 times a day, which is kind of crazy because the bank balance doesn't generally move 10 times in a day. And that's when I realized I wasn't always reaching for the phone because I needed something. It was because I was trying to avoid something. I was procrastinating big time. And what really surprised me is that I didn't actually miss social media at all. I just missed something to reach for. And it was around day 4 that I realized something was up. I am currently listening to the audiobook of The Will of the Many by James Islington. I am deep in that book. It is awesome and I am enthralled. And I'm now on to the next book in the trilogy, which is The Strength of the Few. If you're into these books, let me know in the comments. So day 4, I was listening to my audiobook all throughout the day as I was driving. I had a great day for obvious reasons. And then I thought to myself, I'm still feeling every moment. Yes, it's better quality content. And personally, I find that book very insightful and has a lot of life lessons in it. But I'm still inputting a lot and I'm not sitting with myself, remembering that I'm wanting to be present in each and every moment. So this is where things really got interesting. Today's day 5 of the experiment and I've got a lot of driving to do. I've got at least 5 hours of driving today for work. There's a new rule, no phone whatsoever throughout the day. So 5 hours in the car, no music, no podcasts, no phone, no checking emails, no checking bank balances, no checking anything, no nothing whilst I'm in the car. So that's going to be fun. All right, just a little quick update, something I've noticed today. So at first I thought, I drove to work, hour and a half, no music, no nothing, no distractions, no input, and everything was going pretty well. I was doing some affirmations, I was feeling really calm, being present, had a few YouTube ideas, had a few creative ideas. Then after a while, I started to think about something that bothered me. And then I started to ruminate and started to have, when you start having a conversation in your head, I should say this or what. And I was like, don't do this. I got to my first patient, saw them, and then I was driving to the next patient. And everyone's quite spaced apart today. So it was about 15 minutes. And I started thinking more and more, and before you know it, I'm upset. Physically feeling stressed and agitated. This perceived situation that I've created in my mind. Rumination, believing your thoughts. One of my teachers says that thoughts, at best, are just suggestions. They're not the truth. This was such a valuable exercise because in real time, I went from feeling very present and calm to having a thought, feeling neutral about the thought, following the thought, then having a physiological reaction to the thought, which put me in a completely different state. Because thoughts aren't neutral. The mind doesn't know the difference between fantasy and reality. All right, so I've made it to lunchtime. Trying to still my mind in the car was becoming difficult, so I started repeating the affirmations. I release all that I think that I am. I release all that I think that I know. I am here now. And I just had that over and over and over, and it really did help. So I'm beginning to realize at this point that I don't have a social media problem. I have a being with myself problem. My mentor said to me, there's a treasure of insight just beyond the compulsion to stay busy and distract. And boy, was he right. So throughout day 5 and into day 6, the personal insights and revelations I discovered about myself, like the patterns that had been holding me back, began to be revealed to me. I genuinely believe that I would not have this level of self-discovery without the social media detox. A lot of the discoveries I won't go into because they're very personal, but they're things that had been causing me suffering and angst and robbing me of my inner peace for a very long time. So that door opened and I got a glimmer of what's possible with these insights. So as I continued into day 7, I focused on being present with myself, bringing my awareness back again and again and again, being curious with what I was feeling and what was happening within. I am convinced that this was a really fantastic experiment. I'm really starting to see and feel the changes. And one thing I've noticed is just how much clearer I feel, how much less stressed, less noise in my head, and I don't have shiny object syndrome. That's something that I chronically used to have. I would start a project, then I'd get inspired about another project, and then I'd have an idea for something else, and I'd be flitting here and there onto the next shiny object. And through this week, that subsided in such a big way, which is why I think I was able to focus so much more deeply. I feel more patient. I feel less reactive, and definitely less comparison and less judgments, less opinions about everything. We can walk down the street and have opinions and judgments on just about everything, and that was just dramatically reduced. So I found myself just feeling this really lovely sense of calm and contentment and hopeful I've really noticed the hope this week, which is a beautiful feeling. So going back onto YouTube and Instagram after this break was a little intense. I liken it to if you've ever given up sugar for any length of time and your taste buds adjust, and then after a while you have like a piece of cake or a chocolate or something, and you're expecting it to taste a particular way, but it is just so sickly sweet, and you think, how did I used to eat this? But then you have a bit more and a bit more because sugar is addictive. And before you know it, your taste buds have adjusted again, and you could easily eat a whole block of chocolate without even thinking twice. This feels very similar. So when I first got back on, I was, like it felt like entering that running, rushing stream. It didn't feel good. I noticed it straight away in my energy system. So having that in my awareness, and then over the following days, being on it just a little bit more, I was contemplating that it really is like the frog in the pot syndrome, where if you put a frog in boiling hot water, it's going to jump straight out. But if you put a frog in cold water and then you just slowly turn up the heat, and the frog won't jump out, it won't notice, and it will die. It will be boiled to death. This very much feels like that. And I really don't want to be the dead frog in the pot. I'm not saying social media will kill us, but you definitely cannot measure the lost time and the lost focus, the lost potential, the lowered vibration and frequency, the missed opportunities from not having a clear head and focus. You just can't measure that. It's a complete unknown quality, which is a bit confronting. And full transparency, I actually found myself on social media last night going down a rabbit hole. I did find myself scrolling again, and as I was scrolling, I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? And there was this pull, and I didn't get enough sleep, and I felt pretty rubbish. And it really solidified for me how addictive this is. You know, it would be dishonest to say, oh, I'm cured and it was the best week and now I've got all this focus. From last night, I'm very aware that I'll have to be on this and checking in. And I don't think young kids really stand a chance. And I know I may sound really old by saying this, but I'm so glad that social media wasn't around when I was in high school. Yes, it would have been nice to have access to more knowledge, and definitely I think about being an actor to have technology like this and being able to make your own short films and research whatever you wanted, and instead of having to go to the library and wait for the books to come in kind of thing. There is a cost, and I don't think that can be underestimated. So going forward, it's really important that I use social media and I don't let it use me. So it's not realistic for me to completely give up social media. I do actually need it in my life for my work and my business and to keep communicating with you guys. But I'm going to put very strong boundaries in place. I'm going to limit the amount of days that I go on and the amount of minutes that I go on. Just finding a way to have very clear boundaries with myself while I build self-trust and confidence in that. And then hopefully in the future, I can just be in mastery of it and I won't have to have such strict boundaries in place. Doing it very intentionally. So I will report back to you and let you know how I go with that. Any addiction is easier to abstain from completely than it is to use intentionally and with moderation. There's far more self-mastery in that. Also want to let you know the Aligned Success Lab, which is a 4-week group coaching program for women that I'm co-facilitating with my sister Kathy, begins this week. There's still a couple of spots left. And if you would like more information or to go on the waitlist for the next round, the link is in the description. Hope to see you there. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, share, leave a comment. I'd love to know your relationship to social media, and I'll see you in the next one.